You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from NVDA to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, let's get down to business with your Hot Options Report for Thursday, February 5th. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Radio Network, your home for over 19 years now of all of your favorite options podcasts, including this newcomer here, the Hot Options Report. And of course, remember to check out our friends over there at thehotoptionsreport.com. If you want to run your own analysis, maybe there's some names we didn't mention. It's only about a 10-minute show after all. There's a whole options market for you to analyze. Thehotoptionsreport.com. You can't beat the data. You can't beat the price. Kick the tires and light the fires. As we kick the tires on this market today, an absolutely wild day out there on the street, listeners. Blood red across just about every major asset class you could think of. Equities, metals, crypto, most of the things you folks are interested in took a beating out there today, except for Vol. Vol was popping out there today. Was it popping on the options volume front? The answer was a resounding yes. We are back to some rarefied air. It's not very often I can come on here on this show and say it cost you over 1 million contracts to break into the top 10, but that's exactly where we're hanging out today, listeners. That means every single name in the top 10 did over 1 million contracts today. Again, that's a banger. There's many days we've been on here, listeners, cost you 400,000 to break in. Maybe by the time you get to number 2, you're up over 1 million. Not today. Everybody came to play today. I think some of our chat on the pro side, we're guessing today might be an all 1 million contract day, and they are a prescient bunch. Number 10, Apple. You also know it's a wild day when the fruit company's all the way down at number 10, nearly kicked out of the list. What was making it into the top 10 today? Well, we got to find out. Number 10, the fruit company, selling off today, $275.91, off about 60 cents or about 0.25%. We're back in that mode where it takes a lot to turn Apple red. The whole market was blood red all day, and Apple fought to stay green until right at the end there. So a wild day out there in the fruit company. And the hot option in Apple today, 95,000 of the 280s. Now, these are expiring tomorrow, so you got a little bit of time. The stock got up to about 279.5, so these were looking pretty good until they weren't. Average price for these, 85 cents. So you really need Apple to get out of bed to the upside tomorrow for these to pay off. Looks like paper might have been selling these, though, in which case, at least for right now, that looks like the safer play. We'll see if that's the case tomorrow. As we keep climbing to number 9, looks like we got a div play sneaking their way in at number 9. It's Energy Transfer Unit, a.k.a. ticker symbol ET, selling off 18 cents to close at $18.19, but that's not what was driving it, listeners. It put up 1.04 million contracts, all on the back of going ex-div, the hot option. I'm just going to guess it's an in-the-money call. Let's go see. Oh, yeah, 371,000 of the 13 calls. Yeah, over $5 in-the-money calls. Once again, the telltale sign of a div play. Well, let's keep moving past that, listeners. See what else we've got in our top 10 today. Again, everything we're talking about is above Apple today, which is also wild. Our old pal Alphabet had themselves a bit of a banger earnings, but also kind of an interesting, tempestuous market to announce those earnings into. Obviously, everyone's keying off AI right now. They had blockbuster numbers at Alphabet, but also planning on some blockbuster spending for AI, and the market's not loving that. And of course, it was a down day in the street, so they took a bit of a drubbing. They ended up rallying, though. They had a range of 306 to the downside, before rallying to close right around 331 and a quarter. Still off about $1.80 or about 0.5%, but obviously bouncing off those lows on the session, putting up 1.08 million contracts for the number 8 spot out there today. And the hot option in Alphabet Class A, listeners, was the 330s. Average price for these, $253. They went up 42,000 times today. So these are expiring tomorrow. Obviously, you weren't paying $250 for these in the morning when the stock was at 306. This was a trade later on in the day. But still, $250, you need this stock to keep running if you're going to make these at least break even by tomorrow. But you're looking a heck of a lot better now on these than you were, let's say, a few hours ago. Either way, a crazy announcement on a crazy day from Alphabet. But let's keep climbing to number 7. It's been a crazy year already for this name. This is Microsoft, selling off another $20.52, or about 5%, to close shy of the 400 level. Yes, we were talking about the pars, the 500s, a week ago on this show, heading into their earnings. Now we're talking about breaking 400 in the wrong direction for Microsoft. Closing today, 393.67. Wild day out there, putting up 1.13 million contracts for the number 7 spot. The hot option in good old Mr. Softy today, 60,000 of an interesting strike, the 440 puts. That is a fairly meaty put. Average price for these, nearly $44. And if you paid $44 for these right now, you're looking pretty good because they went out worth more than that. They are, of course, expiring tomorrow, listeners. So we will keep an eye on these, but a very, very meaty put play as we keep climbing to the number 6 spot. This is another name that's had a rough go of late. In fact, they've done a lot of living so far already this year, only 1 month in. They sold off to start the year, then they rallied hard all the way up to 267, or pretty close to about 260, and then sold off again post-earnings. We talked about them earlier this week when the stock was around 242. We were talking about the 220 puts trading for over $2. Those turned out to be quite the home run. And if you still had them on throughout the rest of the week, they're looking even better now. The stock selling off another $7.69, or 3.8%, to close at 192.5. Of course, I'm talking about AMD, coming at number 6 today, putting up 1.21 million contracts. Just an absolute drubbing for this stock. Those puts that you paid about $2 for are looking pretty darn good right now. And what was the hot option in AMD? What a difference a couple of days makes. We were talking about 220s not too long ago. Today it was the 170 puts, but not expiring this Friday, expiring next Friday, going up 46,000 times. It seems like someone maybe was drawing a bit of a line in the sand, selling these, saying this far and no farther. Average price for these, $1.56. So that is the case. Of course, they are looking to potentially buy some stock at around the 168.5 level. Is that a good level for you, listeners? Would you be a buyer there at AMD, or are you saying look out below? Either way, it was an opening trade. We'll keep an eye on these next week on the hot options report. But now it's time to shift our gaze to a name a lot of people are keeping an eye on right now. They are the bellwethers potentially for what's going on in the crypto market. This is MSTR, aka Strategy, having another just apocalyptic day out there. Absolute bloodletting, selling off $22.10, or another 17.1%. Just when you think they can't wring any more blood from this stone, they cut another vein. The stock closed shy of 107, 106.99 today. Absolutely wild stuff, putting up 1.29 million contracts for the number 5 spot out there today. And the hot option in MSTR as we are rolling into earnings, it's the par puts, listeners, the 100 puts changing hands 37,000 times today for an average price of $2.09. Again, we have earnings after the bell. It looks like they're still in the early blush of digesting what is going on because the stock hasn't really budged, only up about a quarter. So maybe that's a sign. Maybe there's going to be a big rebound in the after hours. I know some of our pro members were looking at trading some MSTU against it in our pro chat. That is, of course, the levered MSTR. So looking for a big move, obviously, in the earnings. We'll see what comes to pass. Right now, a whole heck of a lot of nothing for MSTR in the after hours, at least, but a wild day earlier in the session as we keep climbing to the number 4 spot out here today. Another one that's had a wild day and indeed a wild year. This is Palantir selling off another $9.53 or 6.8% to close at 130, pretty much exactly 130.01 to be precise. A wild day and again a wild year. They're off nearly 40 handles now, or about 22.5% for the year. That's on the back of a decent earnings number last week as well. So the street not caring at all, putting up 1.42 million contracts today for the number 4 spot, and the hot option in Palantir, 34, almost 35,000 of the 130 puts. So exact at the money puts. These are expiring tomorrow. Average price for these $2.31. So it's like paper might have been selling these, but it was a lot of evenly split flow. Could have been back and forth. Either way, the stock got as low as 128.32 today. So these were looking decent until they weren't. Either way, though, a wild print on a wild day here. Exact at the money puts. Which way would you be trading these, listeners? Would you be a seller or a buyer of these 130 puts for $2.31? Hit us up. Let us know. As we keep climbing to the number 3 spot out there today, we've got the Amazonians selling off $10.30. They didn't even wait for the earnings. The earnings are after the bell. They didn't care. They clipped it by 4.4% today to close at 222.69, putting up 1.42 million. So pretty much a tie between the number 3 and number 4 spots today, but obviously Amazon edging them out, if ever so slightly, putting up 1.42 million contracts for the number 3 spot. And the hot option out there in the Amazonians today, it's 47,000 of the 250s, the 2 halves. Average price for these, $1.44. Looks like the stock got as high as 226 today, so there never was a level intraday where those looked good. In the after hours, they are certainly not looking good. The stock right now trading 206.25, off $16.50, or about 7.5%. So if you paid $1.44 for those 250s, that is rough. If you sold them, you're at least looking good on the options. If you have some stock against it, maybe not, but at least selling those calls certainly seems like the way to go on these. Man, a rough day and looks like a rough after hours here for the Amazonians as well. But we'll see where it opens tomorrow as we keep climbing to the number 2 spot, to Tesla. This is another name. We were just talking about the 500 calls, the par calls in this name just a few weeks ago, then the 450s. Now we're talking about the 400 strike in the wrong direction. Yes, the stock selling off another $8.80 in Tesla, or about 2.2%, to close 397.21, so below that 400 strike. Got as low as 387.5 today, so a wild day out there in Tesla today, putting up 2.28 million contracts for the number 2 spot out there today. And the hot option in Tesla today, 83,000 of, you guessed it, it's the pars, the 400s. Still not giving these away. Average price for these, $4.34. So if you're rolling the bones on these, they're not that cheap, A, and B, you need Tesla to get out of bed tomorrow if they were buying these. If you sold them, once again, you're probably going to sweat a little bit, but you may end up pocketing some or all of that $4.34. As we keep climbing to the number 1 spot out there today, it's our old pal NVDA on a very active day in the options market. NVIDIA putting up under 3 million contracts. Kind of interesting. 2.85, that's heavy volume. That's dense volume. That's not record volume by any means for NVIDIA. NVIDIA selling off today 171.81, off $2.38, or about 1.3%. Again, putting up 2.85 million contracts for the number 1 spot out there today. The hot option in NVIDIA on a blood red day on the street, it's 199,000 of the 180s expiring tomorrow. Average price for these, 61 cents, and this is not closing. People weren't bailing on these. This was an opening trade, listeners. So 61 cents for the 180s, that seems kind of rough right now. Obviously, anything could happen tomorrow, but NVIDIA rallying almost $10, that'd be a big move for NVIDIA. The high today was 176.82, so these obviously looked a lot better earlier in the session than they do now. We'll keep an eye on these, but obviously it seems like selling was the right way to go for these. And that is going to do it for an absolutely banger day in the options market today. Every single name in our top 10, over 1 million contracts. Not very often we can say that, listeners. I hope you're having a good start to your trading month here in February. I hope you're keeping your head above water in some of these wild markets out there. If you're not, if you're having a hard time, make sure you check out the rest of our content on our network. Maybe head on over to the Pro. A lot of great ideas floating around over there as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow for volatility views to break down all the wild vol, and there's a lot of it on the show tomorrow. Back again for our pro friends after that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro to talk some options oddities. And then we wind up the day with another episode of the Hot Options Report. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.